The first thing Mia felt was cold. Not the gentle chill of an open window or the blast of air conditioning, but the bone-deep cold that comes from being submerged in water. Her body ached everywhere. Her head throbbed with a pain so intense she wanted to cry out, but her throat was raw, scratchy, like she'd been screaming for hours. Where was she? Her eyelids felt heavy, glued shut by exhaustion or drugs or something she couldn't name. She forced them open. The ceiling above her was white, smooth, expensive-looking with recessed lighting that cast a soft, ambient glow. This wasn't her apartment. Her apartment had water-stained ceiling tiles and a flickering bulb she'd been meaning to replace for 3 months. Mia tried to sit up. Pain exploded through her ribs, her shoulders, her neck. She gasped, hand flying to her side, and that's when she felt it. Soft fabric. Not her clothes. Not anything she owned. She looked down. A white towel. That's all she was wearing. A white towel wrapped around her chest, tucked in just above her breasts, barely covering her thighs. Panic flooded through her veins like ice water. She scrambled upright, clutching the towel with both hands, eyes darting around the room. Massive bed with silk sheets. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing Seoul's glittering skyline at night. Modern furniture that screamed money. The kind of money she'd never have in her lifetime. And her clothes? Gone. All of them. No, 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 she whispered, swinging her legs over the side of the bed. Her bare feet touched cold marble floor. She stood on shaky legs, head spinning, stomach churning. What happened? Think, Mia, think. She'd been at work. Café Bora in Gangnam. She'd closed up at midnight like always. Walked home through the quiet streets. And then, nothing. Just blank, empty darkness where her memories should be. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She needed to get out. Find her clothes. Find her phone. Get away from whoever had brought her here. She took one step toward what looked like a door. It opened. A man walked in. Mia froze. He was Korean, late 20s probably, with dark hair pushed back from his forehead and a face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, lips that would have been beautiful if they weren't pressed into such a hard line. He wore an expensive black suit, perfectly tailored, and moved with the kind of easy confidence that came from never doubting your place at the top of the food chain. But it was his eyes that made her breath catch. Dark. Intense. Looking at her like she was a problem he needed to solve. He stopped just inside the doorway, taking in the sight of her, barefoot, wearing nothing but a towel, backing away from him like a cornered animal. Good, he said, voice low and smooth. You're awake. Mia pressed her back against the bedpost, one hand gripping the tile so tightly her knuckles went white. Who are you? He didn't answer immediately. Just studied her with those unreadable eyes, head tilted slightly like he was deciding what to tell her. Or whether to tell her anything at all. Where are my clothes? Her voice came out stronger than she felt. What did you do to me? Something flickered across his face. Irritation, maybe. Or amusement. Nothing. Nothing. I wake up half-naked in a stranger's bed, and you expect me to believe nothing happened. Believe what you want. He crossed his arms, leaning against the doorframe like they were having a casual conversation about the weather. But the truth is, my men found you unconscious by the Han River last night. You were soaked through, hypothermic, barely breathing. They brought you here. My housekeeper changed you out of your wet clothes and put you in my bed because it was the closest room and you needed warmth immediately. Mia's mind raced. The river? She lived nowhere near the river. You're lying. Why would I lie? Because you kidnapped me. I saved your life. He pushed off the doorframe, taking a step closer. She pressed harder against the bedpost. There's a difference. If you saved me, why didn't you take me to a hospital? His expression darkened. Because the hospital would have asked questions, filed reports, and the people who tried to kill you would have found you within hours. The words hit her like a physical blow. Kill me? What are you talking about? He moved closer. She had nowhere to go, trapped between him and the bed. He stopped just out of arm's reach, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woody that made her head spin. You don't remember, he said. It wasn't a question. Remember what? Last night. The warehouse. What you saw. I don't know what you're talking about. I was walking home from work and then... She pressed her fingers to her temples, trying to push through the fog. I can't remember. Everything after midnight is just gone. He watched her face carefully, looking for lies. For cracks. For anything that would tell him whether to believe her. What's the last thing you do remember? He asked. locking up the cafe, starting to walk home. She closed her eyes, searching. It was raining. I remember that. Light rain. I took the shortcut through the alley behind the convenience store. And then, nothing. Just blank. She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. What happened to me? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, someone hit you over the head, dragged you to the Han River, and threw you in to drown. They made it look like an accident. Drunk girl stumbles into the water, can't swim, dies. It happens more often than you'd think in this city. The room tilted. Mia grabbed the bedpost to steady herself. But you didn't die, he continued. My men pulled you out, brought you here. And now whoever tried to kill you thinks you're dead. His eyes locked onto hers. I'd like to keep it that way until I figure out who they are and why they wanted you dead. Why would anyone want me dead? I'm nobody. I work at a cafe. I barely make rent. I don't. You were at my warehouse last night, he cut her off. Around 11 p.m. Security cameras caught you on film. Her blood turned to ice. What warehouse? I've never. The one in Seongsadong. The one where 3 of my men were killed 2 nights ago. His voice dropped, dangerous now. The one someone betrayed to a rival organization. I don't know anything about any warehouse. The cameras say otherwise. Then the cameras are wrong. Desperation made her voice rise. I don't even know who you are. He smiled. It wasn't friendly. Kang Jae-won, he said. And you're staying here until I decide what to do with you. The name meant nothing to her. But the way he said it, like it should mean something, like it was a name people feared, sent chills down her spine. I'm not staying anywhere. She tried to move past him toward the door. I'm leaving. His hand shot out, fingers wrapping around her wrist. Not painful, but firm. Unbreakable. No, he said simply. You're not. She tried to pull away. He didn't budge. Let me go. Look around, Mia. He gestured to the windows, the view. You're on the top floor of a building I own. Surrounded by my security. You have no clothes, no phone, no shoes, and no memory of why someone wants you dead. His thumb pressed against her pulse point, feeling it race. Still want to try walking out? She glared at him, hating how right he was. Hating how his touch made her skin burn despite everything. How do you know my name? He reached into his pocket, pulled out a phone. Her phone. Cracked screen, water damaged, but unmistakably hers. You went through my phone. I needed to know who you were. Mia Park. 23 years old. Moved to Seoul 6 months ago from Busan. Works at Cafe Bora. No criminal record. No dangerous connections. No reason anyone would want to kill you. He stepped even closer, and she could feel the heat radiating off his body. So tell me, Mia Park. Why were you at my warehouse? I don't know. Try harder. I can't remember. Can't or won't. Can't. The word came out as almost a sob. Frustration and fear and confusion all tangled together. I can't remember anything after starting to walk home. It's just blank. Empty. Like someone reached into my head and erased it. He studied her face for a long, tense moment. Looking for the lie. Looking for the crack in her story. He didn't find one. His grip on her wrist loosened. Not releasing, just gentler. Get dressed, he said finally, nodding toward a door to her left. Bathroom. Shower. There are clothes on the counter. We'll talk when you're not dripping wet and half-naked. And then you'll let me go? His smile was sharp. No. Then we'll figure out what you saw at my warehouse. And why someone's willing to commit murder to keep you quiet about it. He released her wrist and walked to the door. Wait. The word left her mouth before she could stop it. He paused, looking back. You said someone tried to kill me, she said quietly. Do you know who? Not yet. But you will. Yes. And then what? His eyes went cold. Empty. The kind of cold that came from doing terrible things and sleeping just fine afterward. Then I'll make sure they regret leaving you alive. The door closed behind him. She heard the lock click into place. Mia stood there, shaking, clutching her towel, trying to process everything. Someone had tried to kill her. This stranger, this dangerous, beautiful stranger, had saved her. And now she was trapped in his penthouse with no memory, no clothes, and no way out. She looked toward the bathroom door. One problem at a time. First a shower. Then clothes. Then she'd figure out how to escape. Or at least, that's what she told herself as she walked into the bathroom and saw just how impossible escape was going to be. The bathroom was bigger than her entire apartment. Black marble covered every surface, floors, walls, countertops. Gold fixtures gleamed under soft lighting. The shower was a glass-enclosed space big enough for 4 people, with rainfall showerhead and jets built into the walls. The tub could have doubled as a small swimming pool. And on the counter, laid out like an offering, were clothes. Expensive clothes. Her size exactly. Soft black cashmere sweater. Designer jeans with the tags still on. Underwear, black lace, still in packaging, her size. Even socks. Everything she'd need. How did he know her size? The question should have scared her more than it did. But right now, she was too cold, too sore, too desperate to get out of this damp towel to care. Mia turned on the shower. Steam filled the bathroom within seconds. She dropped the towel and stepped under the water, hissing as heat hit her frozen skin. And then she saw them. Bruises. Dark purple and blue, covering her ribs, her hip, her thigh. Finger-shaped marks on her upper arms like someone had grabbed her. Held her down. She touched her head gently, found a lump at the base of her skull. Swollen. Tender. Evidence of the blow Jae-won had mentioned. Someone had hurt her. Dragged her. Thrown her in the river to die. But why? She closed her eyes, letting the water run over her face, trying desperately to remember. What had happened after she left work? Where had she gone? Why had she been at some warehouse? Nothing came. Just blank, empty darkness. Frustrated, she grabbed the shampoo, expensive, imported, better than anything she'd ever owned, and washed her hair. Washed away the river water, the fear, the confusion. When she finally stepped out, wrapped in a towel that was softer than anything she'd ever touched, she felt almost human again. The clothes fit perfectly. Of course they did. She stared at herself in the mirror. Same face. Same dark eyes, same full lips, same mess of black curls she could never quite tame. But she looked different somehow. Scared. Lost. Like a girl who'd woken up in a stranger's bed and discovered someone wanted her dead. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and opened the bathroom door. Time to get some real answers. Jae-won was standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows when she emerged, silhouetted against the Seoul skyline. He'd removed his suit jacket, hung it over the back of a leather chair. His sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, revealing strong forearms and what looked like the edge of a tattoo disappearing under the fabric. A glass of amber liquid, whiskey probably, sat in his hand. He didn't turn when she entered, but she saw his shoulders tense slightly. He knew she was there. Better, he asked. Where are my original clothes? Destroyed. They were evidence. Evidence of what? Your attempted murder. He finally turned to face her, and his gaze traveled slowly from her damp hair down to her bare feet. Something flickered in his eyes, something that made her pulse quicken. You look better in those than you did in the towel. Heat rushed to her cheeks. She ignored it. I want answers. So do I. He moved to a low table, poured a second glass of whiskey. Held it out to her. She didn't take it. I don't drink with kidnappers. Guest. Not kidnap victim. The locked door suggests otherwise. The locked door is keeping you alive. He set the glass down. Fine. You want answers? Ask. You said I was at your warehouse. That I witnessed something. What? That's what I'm trying to figure out. He moved closer, and she had to fight the urge to step back. 2 nights ago, someone leaked information about one of my operations to the Beck family. They're a rival organization. Old enemies. The leak got 3 of my men killed during what should have been a routine shipment. I don't understand. What does that have to do with me? You were found half a block from that warehouse, Mia. Someone hit you, dragged you to the river, tried to make sure you'd never talk about what you saw. His eyes bored into hers. Which means you either saw something, or you know something, or you are something. Something like what? A spy. A plant. Bait. He was close now, close enough that she could smell his cologne mixed with whiskey. You tell me which one. None of them. Frustration made her voice sharp. I don't know anything about your warehouse or your shipments or your enemies. I work at a cafe. I make coffee and smile at customers and barely make enough to pay rent. That's my life. Then why were you there? I don't know. Try harder. I can't remember. The words came out as almost a shout. Don't you think I would tell you if I could? Don't you think I want to know why someone tried to kill me? Silence fell between them, heavy and tense. Jae-won's jaw worked like he was grinding his teeth. Then, surprisingly, his expression softened. Just a fraction, but enough that she noticed. Show me your phone, he said quietly. What? He pulled her cracked phone from his pocket again, unlocked it with a swipe she didn't see, and handed it to her. Check your messages from that night. Her hands shook as she took it. The screen was cracked but functional. She opened her messages, scrolled to the night in question, and froze. There was a text she didn't remember sending, to a number she didn't recognize. I'm here. Where are you? Sent at 11:47 p.m. Her heart started to race. She scrolled up, found more messages she had no memory of. All from the same unknown number. Meet me at the warehouse on Seong-Sadong at midnight. Come alone. I have information about your brother. The phone slipped from her fingers. Jae-won caught it before it hit the ground. Your brother, he said, reading the messages. Who is he? Mia couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. He's dead. What? My brother. Minjun. He died 2 years ago. Here in Seoul. She forced the words out past the tightness in her throat. Car accident. That's what the police said. But it never felt right. He was too careful. Too smart. And the circumstances were. She shook her head. I moved here 6 months ago to find out what really happened to him. But I hit dead ends everywhere. Jae-won was very still. And someone knew that. What? Someone knew you were looking. Someone knew your brother's death would be the perfect bait to lure you out. He turned the phone toward her, showing her the messages. This wasn't random, Mia. This was a setup. Someone wanted you at that warehouse. And when you saw something you shouldn't have, they tried to clean up the loose end. But I don't remember seeing anything. Maybe they don't know that. Or maybe what you saw was damning enough that they couldn't take the risk. He handed her phone back. Either way, they think you're dead. And that's the only advantage we have right now. We. Like they were a team. Like she had any choice in the matter. Who are you really? Mia asked, looking up at him. And don't give me just your name. Tell me who you are. What you do. Why people are afraid of you. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You really don't know? Should I? Most people in Seoul know the Kang family name. I've only been here 6 months. And I don't exactly run in mafia circles. Organized crime, he corrected. Mafia is Italian. We prefer more civilized terms for what we do. Which is import and export, logistics, security, protection services. He said it like a businessman describing his portfolio. We control most of the shipping that comes through Incheon. We have connections in every major city in Asia. And we have very simple rules: stay out of our way, and we stay out of yours. And if someone breaks those rules, his smile turned cold. Then they learn why the Kang family has survived in this business for 3 generations. A chill ran down her spine. And you're? The heir. My father runs the family. I run the operations. Which means the warehouse where you were found. That was my responsibility. My territory. My men who died. His eyes hardened. And whoever killed them made a very big mistake doing it on my watch. So what am I to you? Mia asked. Witness? Suspect? Leverage? I haven't decided yet. That's comforting. It should be. It means you're still alive. For how long? He stepped even closer, crowding her space. She held her ground even though every instinct screamed at her to back away. That depends, he said softly. On what? On whether you're telling me the truth. On what you saw at that warehouse. On how much danger you're really in. His hand came up, fingers gentle as they tilted her chin up. And on whether I can keep you alive long enough to figure all of that out. His touch sent electricity through her skin. Wrong. This was wrong. She should pull away. Should put distance between herself and this dangerous man. She didn't move. Why are you helping me? The words came out barely above a whisper. His thumb brushed along her jaw. Slow. Deliberate. Maybe I like mysteries. Or maybe you think I'm useful. Maybe both. They stood like that, his hand on her face, her heart pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. The air between them felt charged, heavy with something she didn't want to name. You should be scared of me, he said quietly. I am. Then why aren't you pulling away? I don't know. His gaze dropped to her lips. She saw the exact moment he decided. Saw the heat flare in his dark eyes. Saw the way his pupils dilated. He leaned in. She held her breath. Their lips were a breath apart. Close enough that she could feel the warmth of him, smell the whiskey on his breath, feel the anticipation coiling tight in her stomach. His phone buzzed. He froze. Drew back with a curse. The loss of his warmth left her cold. He checked the screen, and whatever he saw made his expression shudder completely. The moment was gone, replaced by cold professionalism. I need to go, he said, already moving toward the door. Where? To find out who set you up. And why? He grabbed his jacket, shrugged it on. Don't leave this floor. My men are stationed outside. They have orders to keep you here. For my protection or yours? He paused at the door, looked back at her. The intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. I haven't decided that yet either. Then he was gone, the door closing behind him with a soft click. The lock engaged. Mia stood there, heart still racing, skin still tingling where he'd touched her. What the hell was wrong with her? The man was a criminal. He'd essentially kidnapped her. He suspected her of being involved in his men's deaths. And she'd almost let him kiss her. She pressed her fingers to her lips, trying to calm her racing heart. Focus, Mia. Focus on what matters. Someone had used her dead brother to lure her to that warehouse. Someone had tried to kill her to keep her quiet about what she'd seen. And now she was trapped in a penthouse with a man who was either her only hope of survival or her next biggest threat. She needed to figure out which one. Fast. The penthouse was massive. Mia spent the next hour exploring every inch of it, looking for cameras, listening devices, anything that would tell her just how much surveillance she was under. She found nothing obvious, but that didn't mean nothing was there. Someone like Jae-won would have access to the best technology money could buy. The living room was all modern furniture and expensive art. The kitchen was bigger than her entire apartment, filled with appliances she didn't recognize and probably couldn't afford if she worked for 10 years. There were 3 other bedrooms, each one decorated in minimalist style with the same floor-to-ceiling windows showing off the Seoul skyline. And then she found his office. The door was closed but not locked. She shouldn't go in. She knew she shouldn't. She went in anyway. The office was exactly what she'd expected. Sleek desk, leather chair, walls lined with books that probably cost more than her car. But what caught her attention was the laptop sitting open on the desk, screen still glowing, and the folder of photographs spread across the dark wood surface. Crime scene photos. Her stomach churned as she moved closer. The warehouse. Bodies covered with white sheets. Dark stains on concrete that could only be blood. Yellow police tape. Numbers and markers everywhere. This was where his men had died. Where someone had betrayed him. Where she'd apparently been. She flipped through the photos looking for what? She didn't even know. Some clue. Some hint of what had happened. And then she saw it. A security camera still. Grainy, time-stamped from 2 nights ago at 11:52 p.m. A woman in a cafe uniform. Dark hair pulled back. Looking directly at the camera. It was her. Her hands shook as she picked up the photo. She'd been there. Right there at that warehouse. The evidence was undeniable. But why? What had she been doing? What had she seen? She stared at her own face in the photo, at the way her eyes were wide, mouth slightly open like she was shocked or scared or... I was wondering when you'd find those. Jae-won's voice from the doorway made her drop the photo. It fluttered to the desk. She spun around. He stood in the doorway, jacket gone, tie loosened, looking like he'd been in a fight. Hair messed up, a small cut on his lip that definitely hadn't been there before. "You're back," she said stupidly. Clearly. He walked into the office, closed the door behind him. The sound was ominous in the quiet. "Find anything interesting?" "I was. Snooping through my things?" He moved closer, predatory. "Yes, I noticed. I needed to understand what happened." "And do you?" "Understand." He was right in front of her now, crowding her against the desk. "Because those photos were taken 2 hours before you ended up in the river. Which means you were at my warehouse. The same warehouse where my men were killed. The same warehouse someone betrayed. I told you, I don't remember being there. Convenient. It's the truth." Desperation made her voice rise. "Why would I lie? If I was involved, why would I stay? Why wouldn't I run the second you took your eyes off me? Maybe because you're smart. Maybe because you know running would confirm your guilt. Maybe because you're waiting for the right moment to." "To what?" She pushed against his chest. He didn't budge. "To kill you? To escape? To do whatever it is you think I'm planning." She shoved again, harder. "I'm not your enemy." His hand shot up, fingers tangling in her hair, pulling her head back. Not painfully, but firm. Controlling. "How do I know that?" His voice was low, dangerous. "How do I know you're not working for them? I don't even know who them is. The Beck family. The people who killed my men. Then let me help you find out. Let me. You can't even remember your own actions. Because someone drugged me or hit me or did something to make sure I couldn't." Tears of frustration burned her eyes. She refused to let them fall. "I'm not lying to you, Jae-won. I swear I'm not lying." They were pressed together now, his body hard against hers, her back against the desk. His breathing was harsh. Her pulse raced. And then something shifted. His grip loosened in her hair. His other hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing away a tear she didn't realize had fallen. "I want to believe you," he said, voice rough. "Then believe me. I can't afford to trust easily. Not in my world. Neither can I. But I'm trusting you right now. I'm trusting you with my life." His eyes searched hers, looking for lies, for cracks, for any hint of deception. He found nothing but truth and fear and frustration. "This is a mistake," he muttered. "What is this?" And he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. His mouth crashed against hers with all the pent-up tension that had been building between them since she woke up in his bed. His fingers tightened in her hair, angling her head exactly where he wanted it. His other hand gripped her waist, pulling her flush against him. Mia gasped against his lips, and he took advantage, deepening the kiss until she couldn't think, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but feel. This was insane. She barely knew him. He was dangerous. He thought she might be a spy. But God, the way he kissed her made every logical thought dissolve into nothing. His lips moved to her jaw, her neck, and she heard herself make a sound she didn't recognize, needy, desperate. "Tell me to stop," he muttered against her skin. "Don't stop." His hands slid under her sweater, fingers splaying across her bare waist. Hot. Possessive. Claiming. "You're playing a dangerous game, Mia. Maybe I like danger." He lifted her onto the desk in one smooth motion, stepping between her legs. His hands framed her face as he kissed her again, deeper, harder, like he was trying to consume her whole. She clutched his shirt, pulling him closer, wanting more, needing more of whatever this was. His mouth found that spot just below her ear that made her entire body shiver. "You have no idea what you do to me. Show me." He pulled back just enough to look at her. Eyes dark, pupils blown. "You don't know what you're asking for." "Then show me," she repeated. Something in his control snapped. He kissed her like a man starving, hands roaming, breath ragged. One hand tangled in her hair while the other gripped her thigh, pulling her impossibly closer. She was drowning, lost, and she didn't care. His phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. Insistent. Urgent. He pulled away with a vicious curse, breathing hard. "I have to. I know." He rested his forehead against hers, both of them trying to catch their breath. "This isn't over," he said. "Promise." His smile was dangerous, full of dark promise. "Promise." He stepped back, adjusting his clothes, running a hand through his already messy hair. When he looked at her again, the vulnerable man was gone. The cold mafia air was back in place. "Stay in the penthouse," he ordered. "I'll be back in a few hours." "Where are you going?" "To find answers." He headed for the door, paused. "And Mia? Don't go snooping through my things again. Next time I might not be so understanding." Then he was gone. Mia sat on the desk, heart still racing, lips still tingling, trying to process what had just happened. She'd kissed him. She'd wanted him. She'd practically begged him not to stop. What was wrong with her? She slid off the desk, legs unsteady, and that's when she noticed. The photos were still spread across the desk, including the one of her at the warehouse. She picked it up, studied it more carefully this time. The timestamp, 11:52 p.m. She pulled out her phone, checked the messages again. The text she'd sent, "I'm here. Where are you?" had been sent at 11:47 p.m. 5 minutes before this photo was taken, which meant she'd been waiting, looking for someone. The person who'd promised her information about her brother. But who? She studied every detail of the photo. Her face, her posture, the warehouse behind her. And then she saw it. In the background, barely visible, another figure. Blurred. Walking toward her. She squinted, trying to make out details, but the image quality was too poor. Who was that? Was that the person she'd been meeting? The person who'd lured her there with lies about her brother? She needed to know. Needed to remember. Frustrated, she set the photo down and left the office. The penthouse felt too big. Too empty. Too quiet. She wandered back to the living room, stood by those massive windows, looking out at Seoul's glittering lights. Somewhere out there, someone wanted her dead. Someone who thought she knew something. Saw something. Could expose something. But what? She pressed her forehead against the cool glass, closing her eyes, trying desperately to remember. Come on, Mia. Think. What happened that night? Nothing. Just empty darkness. She was so lost in her thoughts that she almost didn't hear it. Voices. Outside the penthouse door. Angry. Urgent. Her eyes snapped open. Footsteps. Running. coming closer. The sound of something heavy hitting the door. She turned just as the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim, red, ominous. More shouting. Then the unmistakable sound that made her blood freeze. Gunshots. Close. Too close. The penthouse door exploded inward. 3 men rushed through. Not Jae-won's men. She could tell by the way they moved, by the unfamiliar faces, by the weapons in their hands. One of them spotted her standing by the window. There, he said, raising his gun. Mia didn't think. She ran. She made it to the bedroom, the one where she'd first woken up, and slammed the door, locking it with shaking hands. Heavy footsteps pounded down the hallway. Getting closer. She looked around frantically. No other exits. Just the massive window and a 40-story drop to the street below. Her phone. She needed her phone. She'd left it in the office. The door shuddered under a heavy kick. Wood splintered. Another kick. The lock wouldn't hold much longer. Mia backed against the window, heart hammering, mind racing. What could she use as a weapon? What could she? The door burst open. A man stepped through. Older than the others, scarred face, cold eyes that looked at her like she was already dead. He raised his gun. Hello, Mia, he said, smiling. We've been looking for you. She pressed harder against the window. Who are you? Someone who knows exactly what you saw at that warehouse. And what you're worth to us, dead or alive. He took a step closer. She had nowhere to go. Boss wants to talk to you before we finish the job we started at the river. He has questions. You're going to answer them. His finger moved to the trigger. One way or another. I don't know anything. Then this will be a very short conversation. Behind him, Mia heard chaos in the hallway. More gunfire. Shouting. The sound of bodies hitting the floor. And then a voice that made her heart leap. Get away from her. Jae-won. The scarred man turned, gun swinging toward the doorway. Jae-won shot him in the chest before he could pull the trigger. The man crumpled. Blood pooled beneath him on the pristine white carpet. Jae-won was across the room in seconds, hands on Mia's face, checking her for injuries. His knuckles were bloody. There was a gash on his temple. His shirt was torn. Are you hurt? His voice was urgent, desperate even. She shook her head, unable to speak. Did they touch you? No, I. More gunfire erupted in the hallway. Closer now. We need to go. Now. He grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the door. Where? Somewhere they can't find you. Who are they? Why do they want me? He pulled her over the scarred man's body, through the doorway. The hallway was a war zone. Bodies on the floor, some in Jae-won's men's uniforms, some in different colors. Shell casings everywhere. Bullet holes in the walls. No time to explain. Just stay close to me. They ran. Down the emergency stairwell. Jae-won led, gun in one hand, her hand in the other. Floor after floor. Her bare feet slapped against concrete. She could hear footsteps above them. Behind them. Closing in. Faster, Jae-won urged. They burst through a door into an underground parking garage. His car was waiting, engine already running, driver's side door open. Get in. He shoved her toward the passenger side. She dove in. He followed, the car peeling out before his door was even fully closed. Through the rear window, Mia saw more men pouring into the garage. Guns raised. Get down. Jae-won pushed her head down as bullets shattered the back window. Glass rained over them. The car swerved violently, tires screaming against concrete. Mia squeezed her eyes shut, arms over her head, certain they were about to crash, certain this was it. This was how she died. The car burst out of the garage and into the Seoul night. Jae-won yanked the wheel hard, sending them careening around a corner. More gunshots. The side mirror exploded. Hold on. He drove like a man possessed, weaving through traffic, running red lights, taking turns at speeds that should have flipped them. Mia's fingers dug into the seat, knuckles white. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, the sounds of pursuit faded. Jae-won took a final turn into a dark tunnel, killed the headlights, and drove in near-total darkness. The only sound was their harsh breathing. When they emerged from the tunnel, they were in a part of Seoul she didn't recognize. Industrial. Empty. Dark. Jae-won pulled into what looked like an abandoned warehouse, ironic given everything, and killed the engine. Silence. Mia sat up slowly, checking herself for injuries. A few cuts from the glass. Nothing serious. She looked at Jae-won. He was already looking at her. Without a word, he pulled her across the center console and into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. You're okay, he said against her hair. You're okay. She realized he was shaking. I'm okay, she whispered back. I'm okay. He pulled back just enough to look at her, hands framing her face, eyes searching for injuries he might have missed. When I got the alert that someone had breached the building, his jaw clenched. If I'd been 5 minutes later. But you weren't. I should never have left you alone. You didn't know they'd find me that fast. His laugh was bitter. I should have. They have resources. Connections. Of course they'd track you down once they realized you were alive. Who are they, Jae-won? Really? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, the Beck family. My father's oldest enemies. They've been trying to take our territory for 20 years. And someone in my organization has been feeding them information. A mole. Yes. Someone close. Someone I trust. His hands dropped from her face. Someone who knew exactly where to find you. The implication hit her like a punch to the gut. You think someone in your own organization told them I was alive? I know they did. No one outside my inner circle knew you were at my penthouse. Which means someone I trust betrayed me. His expression went cold, deadly. And when I find out who, they're going to wish the Becks had gotten to them first. Mia shivered. Not from cold, but from the utter certainty in his voice. The promise of violence. What do we do now? He looked at her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. Now we disappear. Completely. Until I can figure out who the traitor is and deal with them. Disappear where? Somewhere no one knows about. Somewhere only I can access. He started the car again. Somewhere we'll be completely alone. The weight of those words hung between them. Completely alone. Just the two of them. In hiding. With all this tension and attraction and danger swirling around them. And then, Mia asked quietly. His eyes met hers in the rearview mirror as he pulled out of the warehouse. Then we figure out what you saw. What you know. And why you're so important that the Beck family is willing to start a war to keep you quiet. What if I never remember? Then we find another way to get the information. He reached over, took her hand. His palm was warm, calloused, steady. But I'm not letting them have you, Mia. Whatever it takes. Whatever I have to do. You're under my protection now. Why? The question came out as barely a whisper. Why do you care so much about keeping me alive? He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I don't know yet. But I'm going to find out. The car slipped through empty streets, heading somewhere unknown. Somewhere hidden. Somewhere they'd be alone with all these unanswered questions and undeniable chemistry. Mia looked out the window at Seoul passing by in the darkness. Somewhere out there, people wanted her dead. Somewhere out there, her brother's death was connected to all of this. Somewhere out there, answers waited. But right now, with Jae-won's hand in hers and his promise of protection echoing in her mind, she felt something she hadn't felt in days. Safe. At least for now. They drove for another 30 minutes in near silence. Jae-won took a series of turns that seemed deliberately confusing. Doubling back, taking side streets, making sure no one could possibly follow. Finally, he pulled into an underground parking structure. Not fancy like his building. This one was old, concrete, utilitarian. He parked in a far corner, killed the engine. Where are we? Mia asked. Somewhere I bought 5 years ago under a fake name. Somewhere not even my father knows about. He got out, came around to her side, opened the door. Come on. She followed him to an elevator that looked like it hadn't been serviced in a decade. He pressed a button. The elevator groaned to life. You really thought ahead with this place, she said. In my business, you always need an exit strategy. A place to disappear if everything goes to hell. He looked at her. Tonight, everything went to hell. The elevator opened on the 5th floor. A single door waited at the end of a dimly lit hallway. Jae-won unlocked it with a keypad code, ushered her inside, and locked it behind them. The apartment was nothing like his penthouse. Small. Simple. Bare minimum furniture. A couch, a small kitchen table, one bedroom visible through an open door. But it was clean. Safe. Hidden. It's not much, he said. It's perfect. She meant it. He moved to the windows, thick curtains already drawn, and checked every lock. Paranoid. Thorough. When he was satisfied, he finally allowed himself to relax. Slightly. You should rest, he said. It's been a long night. I couldn't sleep if I tried. Then sit. I'll make tea. She watched him move around the small kitchen, this dangerous man who'd just killed people to protect her, now making tea like it was the most normal thing in the world. Jae-won, she said quietly. He paused, looked over his shoulder. Thank you. For saving me. Again. His expression softened. Don't thank me yet. We're not safe. Not by a long shot. But I'm alive. That's because of you. He set down the kettle, turned to face her fully. You're alive because someone wants you alive long enough to answer their questions. Once they get what they need from you, they'll kill me. I know. She stood, moved toward him. But they would have killed me tonight if you hadn't come back. I should have been there. I should have. She pressed her finger to his lips, stopping the words. You were there. That's what matters. His hand came up, covering hers, holding her finger against his lips. The gesture was intimate. Electric. You're too trusting, he said against her skin. And you're too hard on yourself. I'm a criminal, Mia. I've done things, terrible things, that would make you run if you knew. Maybe. Or maybe I'd understand that sometimes good people have to do bad things to survive. She stepped closer. You're not as scary as you think you are, Kang Jae-won. His laugh was rough. You say that now. You haven't seen what I'm capable of. I saw you kill 3 men tonight without hesitation. And I'm still here. Something shifted in his eyes. Heat. Need. The same thing she'd seen right before he'd kissed her in his office. You should be afraid of me, he said, voice dropping low. I am. Then why are you standing so close? Because I'm more afraid of what's out there than what's in here with me. That's not very logical. Nothing about tonight has been logical. He cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. Tell me to stop, Mia. Tell me this is a bad idea. Tell me we should keep our distance and focus on keeping you alive. Is that what you want? Distance? No. The word came out as almost a growl. But it's what's smart. What's safe? I don't want safe anymore. She looked up at him, at this beautiful, dangerous man who'd turned her entire world upside down. I want real. I'm the furthest thing from safe you could possibly find. I know. I could hurt you. You could. But you won't. How do you know? Because you've had a dozen chances to hurt me, and every time, you chose to protect me instead. She placed her hand over his heart, felt it racing. Because underneath all that coldness and control, you're not the monster you pretend to be. His control shattered. He kissed her like he was drowning and she was air. Like the world was ending and she was his last chance at salvation. His hands were everywhere, her face, her hair, her waist, pulling her against him until there was no space left between them. Mia kissed him back just as desperately, fingers clutching his torn shirt, feeling the hard muscle beneath, the heat of his skin. He walked her backward until her back hit the wall. His mouth moved to her neck, finding that spot that made her gasp. Last chance, he muttered against her skin. Tell me to stop. Don't you dare. His hands slid under her sweater, fingers exploring bare skin. She arched into his touch, head falling back against the wall, giving him access to every inch of her neck, her collarbone, that sensitive spot just below her ear. You're going to be the death of me, he said. Good. At least we'll die together. He pulled back just enough to look at her, eyes dark with desire and something else, something tender that made her heart ache. I don't know what this is, he said. What you are to me. But I can't stay away anymore. Then don't. He kissed her again, softer this time but no less intense. His hands framed her face like she was something precious. Something worth protecting. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, foreheads pressed together, Mia felt it. The shift. The moment everything changed between them. This wasn't just attraction anymore. This wasn't just adrenaline and danger making them reckless. This was something more. Something dangerous in an entirely different way. We should rest, Jae-won said, though he made no move to let her go. Tomorrow we need to figure out our next move. Together. Together. She nodded, stepping back reluctantly. Her lips felt swollen, her skin still tingling from his touch. There's only one bed, he said. You take it. I'll sleep on the couch. That's not necessary. Yes, it is. His smile was strained. Because if we share that bed, Mia, I won't be able to keep my hands off you. And you need sleep more than you need me making this more complicated than it already is. Heat flooded her cheeks. Oh, yeah. Oh. He moved to the couch, started pulling off his torn, bloody shirt. Mia's mouth went dry at the sight of him. Lean muscle. Several scars, old ones, evidence of a violent life. And a tattoo she'd glimpsed before, now fully visible. A dragon, black and intricate, wrapping around his ribcage. Like what you see? His voice was amused. She tore her gaze away. I'm going to bedroom. I'll be in the bedroom. His laugh followed her. She closed the bedroom door, pressed her back against it, and tried to calm her racing heart. What was she doing? Getting involved with a criminal? Kissing him? Wanting him? But even as logic tried to reassert itself, she couldn't deny the truth. She felt more alive with Jae-won than she'd felt in years. More seen. More real. Maybe that made her reckless. Maybe it made her stupid. But for the first time since waking up in his bed, she wasn't just scared. She was something else too. Hopeful. Mia must have eventually fallen asleep, because she woke to sunlight streaming through a gap in the curtains and the smell of coffee. She sat up, disoriented for a moment. Small bedroom. Unfamiliar. Then memory crashed back. The attack, the escape, the kisses, oh God, the kisses. Her face heated. She got out of bed, still wearing yesterday's clothes, and opened the door. Jae-won stood in the small kitchen, 2 mugs of coffee on the counter. He'd changed shirts. How many safe houses did this man have? And looked frustratingly put together considering they'd been fleeing for their lives last night. Morning, he said. Morning. She moved to take one of the coffee mugs. How long was I asleep? Few hours. He checked his watch. It's just past noon. Noon? Why didn't you wake me? You needed rest. He took a sip of his coffee, watching her over the rim. I've been making calls. Trying to figure out who leaked your location. And, his expression darkened. I have 3 suspects. All people I trusted. All with access to information about where you were staying. What are you going to do? Test them. Set a trap. See who takes the bait. He set down his mug. But that's my problem. Your problem is regaining your memory. I've been trying. There's just nothing there. Maybe we're approaching this wrong. He moved closer. Tell me about your brother. About his death. Everything you know. Mia wrapped her hands around the warm mug, gathering her thoughts. Min-jun was 25 when he died. 2 years ago. He'd been living in Seoul for 3 years, working in finance. Or at least, that's what he told our family. You don't think it was finance? The money was wrong. He lived too well for someone in an entry-level position. Expensive apartment. Designer clothes. And he started being secretive. Wouldn't tell us details about his work. Didn't come home for holidays. You think he was involved in something illegal? I think he got mixed up with dangerous people. And it got him killed. She met Jae-won's eyes. The police said it was a car accident. Single vehicle collision. He lost control on a rainy night, went off the road. But Min-jun was a careful driver. And the location where it happened, it didn't make sense. He had no reason to be on that road. Where did it happen? Seongsadong. Jae-won went very still. Near the warehouse. Yes. About 2 blocks away. Mia. My warehouse has been operational for 4 years. If your brother was in Seongsadong 2 years ago, near my location, you think he was involved with your organization? Or investigating it? Or stealing from it? Jae-won pulled out his phone, started typing rapidly. What was his full name? Park Min-jun. He typed, waited, frowned at whatever came up on his screen. What? Mia asked. What is it? He turned the phone toward her. A photo. Official looking. Her brother, but younger, wearing a police uniform. Min-jun was a cop, Jae-won said quietly. The world tilted. What? Undercover, it looks like. Organized crime division. He scrolled through more information. He was investigating the Beck family. Following leads about their trafficking operations. The Beck family. The people who tried to kill me last night. Yes. Mia's mind raced. He was investigating them. He died near your warehouse. And someone lured me to that same warehouse with information about his death. She looked up at Jae-won. It's all connected. Your brother must have discovered something. Something so damaging that they killed him for it. Jae-won continued reading. His death was ruled accidental, but there was a note in the file. The detective assigned to the case had doubts. Requested an autopsy. But the request was denied. Case closed. Because someone didn't want it investigated. Someone powerful. Someone who could make a case disappear. Do you know who? His jaw tightened. I have an idea. But if I'm right, this is bigger than I thought. Much bigger. Tell me. He looked at her, and she saw genuine concern in his eyes. The Beck family doesn't have that kind of influence in the police department. Not officially. But my father does. The implication hung in the air, heavy and terrible. You think your father was involved in covering up my brother's murder? I don't know. But I'm going to find out. He started pacing. The warehouse where you showed up, where the ambush happened 2 nights ago. That's where we do exchanges. Money, goods, information. If your brother was investigating the Becks, and he ended up at my warehouse. He thought they were meeting there. Or he had evidence they were using my operation as a front. Jae-won stopped pacing. Which would explain why the Becks tried to kill you. If you saw something at that warehouse that connected them to my family, it would start a war. Exactly. He moved closer. Mia, what you saw, or what they think you saw, it's evidence of a partnership between the Becks and someone in my organization. Someone high up. Someone with the authority to make deals behind my father's back. The mole. Yes. And if that information got out, it wouldn't just destroy the traitor. It would tear apart decades of careful balance. Every family in Seoul would choose sides. The city would run red. Mia set down her coffee mug. Her hands were shaking. So whoever set me up at that warehouse was trying to silence you before you could remember what you saw, or trying to use you as bait to draw out anyone who knew the truth. His expression was grim. Either way, you're not just a witness anymore, Mia. You're a weapon, and everyone wants to control you. Including you? He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. I want to protect you. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, everyone seems to have their own agenda. My agenda is keeping you alive long enough to take down whoever killed your brother and betrayed my family. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. And maybe, if we're lucky, figuring out what this is between us. Jae-won. His phone buzzed. He checked it, and his entire demeanor changed. We need to move. Now. What? Why? One of my suspects just took the bait. He's meeting with Beck representatives in 30 minutes. He was already grabbing his jacket, checking his gun. I need to be there. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Everything about this situation is dangerous. At least if I'm with you, I know you'll protect me. He started to argue, then stopped. Looked at her. Really looked at her. You're not going to let this go, are you? Would you? If someone killed your sibling? If you had a chance to find out the truth. His jaw worked. Then, fine. But you stay in the car. You don't get out. You don't interfere. And if I tell you to drive away and leave me, you do it. Understood? Yes. I mean it, Mia. If things go wrong. She stepped close, placed her hand on his chest. They won't. Because you're too smart to let them go wrong. He covered her hand with his. Your faith in me is terrifying. Then don't let me down. He pulled her in, kissed her hard and fast. Stay alive, Mia Park. That's an order. Stay alive yourself, Kang Jae-won. They left the safe house together, heading into danger, chasing answers. And somewhere in Seoul, in a place neither of them knew about yet, someone watched and waited. Because the real game was just beginning. And Mia was the key to everything.